The other team in the Lone Star State that grabbed headlines. Now I'm not talking about Rice. We'll get to them in just a little bit. Texas
No, let's talk
A&M.
Rice. Rice did a great job
Rice was
today.
awesome. Let's talk about them.
Double overtime victory in the Battle of the Bayou Bucket. Let's break down Rice for the next 20
JT
minutes.
Dan, you're right. He's a good quarterback.
JT Daniels did throw for 400 yards. We'll mention
Luke
them in a little
McCaffrey.
bit, but we've got to face the music here, fellas. Texas A&M has all the momentum early, and then they just fell apart against Miami. The Canes win 48-33. The offense for A&M looked pretty good. I think Connor Wegman is QB1 for the foreseeable future. I mean, he is as good a quarterback as A&M has come in here in quite some time. But the problem was the defense was atrocious today. And, obviously as A&M fans, we were talking back and forth as this game went along. To me, guys, the blame falls squarely on the shoulders of DJ Durkin. I thought his play calling was terrible. And the secondary is not going to be a strength of this team. I mentioned that in the preview. That was why I took Miami plus the points. I thought A&M would win this game, but I was concerned about the corner's ability to stop Tyler Van Dyke from throwing downfield. They didn't today. Xavier Restrepo got all that he wanted and more. Colby Young, tight end / wide receiver from New York, got all he wanted and more. A&M couldn't tackle. They weren't in the right position. They couldn't get pass rush. And some of that is certainly on the players, right? They got to execute. But Garrett, the play calling was abysmal from DJ Durkin. Again, we kept seeing 3-man fronts. And I feel like if there's going to be a coaching change at some point during the season, if A&M is going to have another disappointing year, Durkin will be the first scapegoat to go.
Right. And it was frustrating to watch, obviously, as a fan, but at the same time, it's frustrating to watch as a fan of football, to watch an entire unit go completely unchanged through the course of a game and to not try to adjust and to not try to mark an extra guy or something else like that. I'm going to throw the stats back up on the screen. If you look at these stats just offensively, you'll see obviously there's some similarities. A&M actually played pretty well on offense, almost matched total yardage. Wigman was right up there with Van Dyke in terms of yards passing. A&M actually outrushed the Hurricanes, but the turnovers weren't great. And obviously, you can't get anywhere if you don't convert on 10 of your third downs. So certainly not spotless on the offensive side of the ball, but this had way more to do with the fact that Miami came out there with an amazing offensive performance, and Tyler Van Dyke was almost unstoppable. This was a true Tyler Van Dyke's moment, right? This is really where he decided to excel. And the thing is, they didn't really do that much. I mean, they did hit a couple shots over the top, but most of what they did was just the sideline to sideline, hit a screen, and watch the guy run. And the tackling on the perimeter was not there for the Aggies. And I don't think that it's a skill thing, because those guys are clearly talented. Most of them have been highly recruited. Most of them have high ratings. It's not a skill thing. It just has to be a coaching thing, right? If you don't do the fundamentals right, if you can't tackle on the perimeter, if you can't, get into something and not over pursue a rush lane so a guy cuts back and he's got nothing but green, right? It's just the little things that you got to do right. Additionally to that, Miami dominated the line of scrimmage. A&M could not get pressure all day on the defensive side of the ball. And when it came to the offense, there were so many moments of just unchecked free rushers heading straight in to go hit Connor Wigman. I'd love to, go find it, but I didn't actually look this number up, but just total times that he got hit or pressures or something like that. I'd love to see the pressure percent, because it's got to be up near 50%. They pressured him on almost every single play. So you really have to go hats off to Miami. They played a fantastic game. They came out with a good game plan. They clearly saw something they knew. But, man, this is just flat out A&M got out coached. It wasn't that they didn't have the dogs to run in this one. It's not that they didn't have players clearly stepping up and trying to do their best and make plays. There were a lot of spots where players across the field for A&M wanted to make plays, but they got out coached. Miami came out there, straight up out coached them. They did a much better job, had a much better game plan, put their players in a better position to succeed. I'll pull up a couple of these individual players here, but yeah, Van Dyke, 21 for 30, 374, 5 touchdowns. Restrepo was a problem for the Aggies. A lot of those yards coming after the catch. 6 catches, 126 yards, set up a couple of different scoring drives. And so, yeah, I think you have to go hats off to Miami. They clearly had the better coaching staff today. Cristobal and his staff outdid Jimbo, and I think you just have to acknowledge that off the front end.
Yeah, and listen, we slept on Miami a little bit. I think, leading up to this, we talked about the question was who has done more to fix the issues that led to a 5-7 season last year? Is it Texas A&M or is it Miami? And we all three kind of agreed that it was A&M just through week one. And what we learned today is that Miami has done a lot to fix the issues that led to 5-7 last year. And that starts with Tyler Van Dyke. I don't know if it was soul searching. I don't know if he went and talked with his mom that apparently, I don't know if you guys heard this, but her water broke while she was taking the bar exam. If you didn't watch that game, that was
what a strange thing to decide to chime in with during the broadcast. They spent an unusual amount of time talking about how his mom's water broke while she was taking the bar.
But she passed the test. I mean, guys,
congratulations. That's amazing. But I don't feel like I should know that story personally.
It was a strange story. And then to revisit it, to retell it.
A couple of times.
Once is fine, but we talked about it 3 or 4 times. Joe Test was like borderline the Bama girlfriend in that national championship game with Brent Musburger about that story. It was getting a little creepy, but listen, Tyler Van Dyke, it was a big phoenix rising from the ashes game from him, and hats off to him for, he took a lot of criticism last year. He had a lot of deserved criticism last year for the way that he handled the adversity of that 5-7 season, but he looks to be locked in. He looks to be ready to go, and they're scheming up amazing opportunities for him. They are really using their skill position players really well. Today, they had a perfect match for what DJ Durkin wanted to throw out there. And Mitch, you're absolutely right. DJ Durkin's performance was despicable in this game. No adjustments, no creativity, no trying to use your best players and the best. Like, for everything we said about how LSU used Harold Perkins, like, multiply that by 11, because DJ Durkin looked like he had never seen the roster that he was putting out on the field today. And he was just throwing guys out there and just going to call random plays like he picked a random team on Madden. So, we're getting a little emotional as fans here of the A&M program, but it was frustrating to see. It was frustrating to see the lack of adjustments. I personally am encouraged by the A&M offense. I think the A&M offense still showed a lot today. Wasn't perfect by any stretch of the imagination. They definitely could have done more to help put that game away early when they had the opportunities to, but 33 points would have been their second best output last year, and it's on the road in an environment that was more hostile than they were expecting it to be. So I think the offense still has a lot of hope. If you're an A&M fan, I think that you can still have a lot of hope in the offense. Connor Wegman looked really fantastic, even though he was under pressure quite a bit today. But the defense, they're not going to get anywhere with this defense. They might make a bowl game, but they're not going to be anywhere near competing for anything of consequence if the defense stays like this.
I saw a tweet that said the good news is most of the problems today are fixable. The bad news is you're relying on a Texas A&M defensive staff to fix those problems. And, that's just true, right? Like, since Mike Elko has gone to Duke, there's obviously been a noticeable decrease in kind of the overall continuity of that defensive side of the ball. And that is a huge credit to what Mike Elko did. He was one of the best in the business, still is, obviously just now as a head coach. But A&M knew that they had a gem in Elko, and they fought tooth and nail to keep him. He was the highest paid defensive coordinator in the country before moving on to Duke when he found his opportunity. So certainly something that A&M has to address internally. The tackling was just abhorrent this afternoon. It was really frustrating watching guys just throw shoulders into receivers. And, guess what? They're going to bounce right off and continue down the field for 10, 15, 20 yards, right? It's shocking to see that Miami only converted 3 of 9 or 3 of 8 on third down. But that really shows you how few times A&M's defense got them in those situations, because it felt like anytime Miami needed to extend the drive, they were able to, right? For me, I think one of, Trey, you talked about the lack of adjustments. Miami harassed A&M's offense with corner blitzes all day long. A&M was not able to get any sort of blitz pressure on Tyler Van Dyke. I don't even know if we tried a corner blitz at any point today. It was very vanilla, very few stunts up the middle, no twists. It was just kind of hat on hat. And at times you were watching the defensive line just get stood up by a very talented Miami offensive line. And, the score is what it is. Miami was the better team on the field. They defended home field, and A&M and Miami split their non-conference series.
Gracious, how